Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the review for the volume quiz that's going to be on Wednesday. So let's start off with number 1. Miss Nagy is filling a small box with M&Ms. The length of the box is 7 inches, the width is 4 inches, and the height is 5 inches. How many cubic inches of space does she have for the M&Ms? So cubic inches means that's inches cubed. We're looking for the volume. So we know the formula for volume is length times width times height. So we're going to substitute in what we know. The length is 7, the width is 4, and the height is 5 inches. And then we're just going to multiply those three numbers together. 7 times 4 times 5 gives us a product of 140 inches cubed. Or cubic inches. All right, number 2. We want to find the volume of the rectangular prism. The length is 6 1/4, the width is 5 1/2, and the height is 2 3/5. So again, we're going to substitute that into our formula, length times width times height. So you have 6 1/4 times 5 1/2 times 2 3/5. And you can type that into your scientific calculator if it allows you to put in mixed numbers. Otherwise, we're going to convert these over to improper fractions, and then we'll multiply the numerators and denominators. So this first fraction, 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25, so it's 25 fourths. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so this one is 11 halves. And then 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13, so that's 13 fifths. And remember, we could cross-reduce here. I notice 5 goes into 5 and 25, so I'm going to reduce that to 1 and the 25 down to 5. And then we're going to multiply straight across. 5 times 11 times 13 would give us a product of 715 for the numerator. And 4 times 2 times 1 is 8. Right? When I divide 715 by 8, it goes in 89 times, and that's a product of 712. So we'd have 3 remainder. The denominator stays the same. If you choose to put it in decimal form, it would be 89.375 or 375 thousandths meters cubed. Number 3. So we have a length of 8 4/10, a width of 12 7/10, and a height of 15 5/10. So we're going to multiply those three together. And when you multiply those together, it gives you a product of 1,653 and 54 hundredths millimeters cubed. Number 4, it's asking for the volume again. We're given the length here, and we're also given the area of this side piece that we're calling the base. That would be the width times the height. Right? So when we substitute what we know into our formula, length times width times height, we're going to put in the 8 7/10 for the length, and the width and height are already multiplied together for us with the volume. That's 23 8/10. And when we multiply those two together, we end up with a product of 207 6/100. And our units, yards cubed. All right, on to number 5 here. We're given the height of 6 1/5, and this area that's already calculated for us is the area of the length times the width. So I'm going to substitute what we know in. We know the length times the width is already 24 1/2, and we're going to multiply that with the height of 6 1/5. And again, if your calculator can, you can put mixed numbers in, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to convert this. 2 times 24 is 48, plus 1 is 49. So you have 49 halves, and 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1 is 31 fifths. So we're going to multiply across. 49 times 31 is 1,519, and 2 times 5 is 10. Then we're going to divide it here. We end up with 151 9/10, or 151.9, also 9/10. And our units is inches cubed. For number 6, Miss Nagy is filling a large sandbox with sand. If the bottom of the box has an area of 24 square feet and the height of the box is 2 feet, how many cubic feet of sand will fit in the box? Cubic feet means, again, I want to find the volume. We're told the area of the bottom. So this is similar to a picture that we did with number 5. Right, I apologize for my messy drawing here. I'm going to erase this piece here. Okay, so the area of the bottom of the box, that's what we're told. That's the length and the width already together. That piece is 24 square feet, and we know the height here is 2 feet. So I'm going to substitute what we know, and we know the length and the width, that area is already 24, and the height is 2. So we're going to multiply those two together to give us 48 feet cubed. Number 7, we want to find the missing side length here. So we're given the length and the height. We don't know what the width is. So again, let's substitute what we know into our formula, length times width times height. We know the volume is 7,182. That's given to us down here. We know the length is 19. We don't know the width. We know the height is 21. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply 19 and 21 together. That's going to give a product of 399. So 399 times the width will give 7,182. Oops. And to figure out what the width is, we're going to divide those two. 7,182 divided by 399. And that means our width, when we divide it, is 18 inches. All right, let's move to the next one. Number 8, this time we're looking for the height. So again, we'll substitute what we know into our formula. We know the volume is 47 and 17/20. We know the length is 8 4/5. We know the width is 7 1/4. And we don't know what the height is. So again, we're going to go ahead and multiply these two together, the 8 4/5 times 7 1/4. That's going to give us 63 4/5. We still have to multiply that by the height. And we know that's going to equal 47 and 17/20. I know that the height has to be smaller than 1 whole because 63 times a smaller number would give a product that is smaller than 63. Okay, so to figure out exactly how much the height is, we're going to divide those two. That means 47 and 17/20 has to come first because we know the quotient has to be smaller than 1 whole. And then go ahead and type that into your calculator. When you type it in, you'll see that the height is 3/4. Right? Or if you have it in decimal form, 75 hundredths. And our units should be meters that go with it. All right, so this time we're looking for the length. We're told what the width is, what the height is, and again, we're given what the volume is. So let's substitute what we know in. We know the volume is 15 and 99 hundredths. We don't know what the length is. We know the width is 2 6/10. And we know the height is 4 1/10. So again, we're going to go ahead and multiply those two together. That's going to give us a product of 10 and 66 hundredths. And to figure out what the length is, we're going to divide 15 and 99 hundredths divided by 10 and 66 hundredths. That'll give us the length. So when you type that into your calculator, we find that that's 1 5/10 or 1.5 feet. All right, we're on to number 10 now. We want to find the volume of each rectangular prism if the side length of each cube is 1/4 inches. So what does that tell me? That tells me I'm going to line up 1/4 all the way along the length because each of these cubes is 1/4 inch. So altogether, the length is 5/4 inches. We're going to do the same thing for the width. Each of those cubes is 1/4. So that means the width altogether is 3/4 inches. And then for the height here, each cube is 1/4, and there are 2 of them, so that means the height is 2/4. So now we're going to substitute the length, width, and height into our formula, length times width times height. The length we said is 5/4, the width is 3/4, and the height is 2/4. Then we can multiply numerator to numerator, denominator to denominator. 5 times 3 is 15, 15 times 2 is 30, and 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 4 is 64. Then we're going to go ahead and reduce that. Both of those numbers we can divide by 2. So that gives us 15/32 as our lowest terms, and that's inches cubed. So 15/32 is the full volume of the whole rectangular prism. All right, our next one. Again, we want to find the volume here. In this case, the volume of each cube is 1/8, not the side length, the volume. So to solve this kind of problem, to find the volume, we're going to find the number of cubes that make up the whole rectangular prism, and we're going to multiply that by the volume of each cube. We know the volume of each cube is 1/8 inches cubed. Now we just have to find the number of cubes. So I notice along the bottom here, there are 6 cubes, and along the side, there are 3. So the bottom layer has 18 cubes, and there are 3 levels of that. Right? So 18 times 3. Or I'm going to multiply the number of cubes along the length, the number of cubes along the width, and the number of cubes along the height to tell me the number of cubes. Right? So 16 times 9 gives 54. So this shape has 54 cubes, and we're going to multiply that by our 1/8. Right? Multiplying across, that gives us 54/8. And let's see, 8 goes into 54 6 times, that's 48. So it'd be a difference of 6. So we'd have 6 and 6/8, which is the same as 3 and 3/4. Or, sorry, 6 and 3/4. Or 6.75. And that's inches cubed for our units. One more question here. How many cubes make up this rectangular prism? Well, we talked about it in question number 11. We could multiply the number of cubes along the length, the number of cubes along the width, and the number of cubes along the height. Right? So we'd have 4 for the length, 2 for the width, and 4 for the height. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. Right? Another way to look at it here, if I count the number of cubes right in front of me, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there are 16 cubes in this front layer right in front, and there are another 16 cubes right behind it in the back layer. So 16 cubes in the front layer, and then we're going to add 16 cubes in the back layer. So together, that's 32 cubes altogether. All right, if you have questions on the review, log into the calls or shoot me a message through Google Classroom or email. Hope you guys are well. Speak to you soon. Bye.